My boyfriend praised his ex at her memorial and admitted I was second choice, so I left. My boyfriend and I had been together for 4 years. We lived together, had a cat, and talked about getting married one day. It wasn't perfect, but it felt stable. I knew he had an ex from high school named Sarah. He didn't talk about her much, so I never worried. Then one afternoon, his phone rang and everything changed. He stared at the screen, went pale, and started crying like I'd never seen. Sarah had died in an accident. I held him while he shook and kept saying her name. The funeral was 3 days later in his hometown. He asked me to come because he said he couldn't do it alone. On the drive, he talked non-stop, like he couldn't stop the memories. He told me about their inside jokes, the notes she left in his books, the trips they took when they were young. Every few minutes he'd go quiet, then start again. I kept nodding and rubbing his shoulder, even though my stomach felt tight. When we got there, he didn't sit with me. He went straight to the front row with her family. Her mom grabbed his hand and held it, crying into his sleeve. People hugged him and called him sweetheart, like he was still theirs. I sat in the back, alone, while everyone watched him fall apart. Then he stood up to speak. I expected a short tribute. Instead, he talked for a long time, laughing and crying at the same time. He told stories I'd never heard, and then he said it, clear and loud. I've never loved anyone the way I loved Sarah. My heart dropped. He didn't stop there. He said she understood him in a way no one ever would again. He said if she'd stayed, they'd probably be married with kids. He called her it for him. I sat frozen, staring at the back of his head, feeling like I wasn't real. The room was full of sniffles and nodding. No one looked at me. On the drive home, he stared out the window and said nothing. I waited for an apology. I waited for him to say, I didn't mean that. He never did. For the next week, he barely left our bedroom. I'd bring him food, and he'd barely touch it. I'd ask if he wanted to talk, and he'd just shake his head. He left his phone on full volume, and every few hours it buzzed with messages from her friends and family. Each time it lit up, he'd sit up fast, like he was hoping it was her. One night, he pulled an old hoodie out of a storage bin and slept with it clutched to his chest. I recognized it from a photo he'd shown me in the car. I went to work, came home, cleaned the apartment, and took care of the cat. I'd ask how he was doing, and he'd whisper, I don't know, then turn his face to the wall. At night, I heard him crying in his sleep, and I stared at the ceiling, wide awake. Once I walked past the doorway and saw him scrolling old photos of her, thumb tracing her face on the screen. Another time, I heard him whispering on the phone with her mom, saying, I miss her so much. I should have gone with her. I tried to sit beside him and hold his hand, and he pulled away like my touch didn't fit. That line from the funeral kept playing in my head, and then other things started clicking. He never planned anything romantic for me. No surprise dates, no little notes, not even a posted photo together. When I brought up traveling, he'd say we couldn't afford it, or he was too busy. But I'd seen his old pictures with Sarah in other places, smiling like he couldn't wait to show her the world. And when I tried to bring up how I felt after the funeral, he cut me off with, please, not now, like my feelings were rude. I tried to tell myself people change. I tried to tell myself love can be quiet, but I couldn't ignore what he said right in front of me and how he was acting now. On day 8, I stood in our bedroom and said, we need to talk. He didn't answer. I said it again, louder, nothing. So I grabbed trash bags from the kitchen and started packing. That finally made him sit up. What are you doing? He asked. My voice was calm, even though my hands were shaking. I'm leaving, I said. I told him his speech made me feel small. I told him I couldn't be the person he settled for after losing the one he really wanted. He snapped. He started yelling that I was selfish, that he'd just lost someone important and I was making it about me. He said I had no idea what he was going through. I didn't yell back. I just nodded once and said, you're right, I am making it about me, because I'm the one who has to live with being second place. I zipped my bags, got the cat into her carrier, and walked out the door. He didn't follow me. The door clicked shut behind me. Now my friends are saying I left too fast after his speech. Was I wrong?